Spot is presented by Botano. The game starts now. Here are your hosts, Brent Wallace, Jason York, and Bobby Ryan.
Good Thursday afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Coming In Hot. Brent Wallace alongside Jason York and Bobby Ryan. Boys, big show today. Craig Button standing by, waiting to join us. We'll get to him in one sec. Lots to chat about. The Sens, they've lost, so clearly they're not going to go 82-0 this season based on them losing the one preseason game.
Yep. They're done.
There goes the playoffs.
When are we blowing it up?
Yeah, ring order on hold.
Anyway, don't want to waste too much time. I guess I should just ask and start and see how you guys are doing. Yorkie, I'd like to say congrats, as you just posted on Twitter that you were going to be a grandpa coming up here soon.
I got to think of a cool name because everyone's now it's like Papa, or my wife's going to be Gigi. So we gotta. Our listeners have to give me some cool handle so I'm not called Grandpa.
Big Yorkie.
Right. I just want to be called Yorkie. Yeah,
you've never been called big before. You do it now.
Oh god, I'm skinny fat.
Yeah.
Hey, Bob, you know what that's all about.
Oh, don't I ever? There's 15 years of it, pal.
Well, congrats, Yorkie. Looking
Thanks,
forward
guys.
to this,
Yeah,
and we'll figure out what we can do for a gift. I don't know. Are you registered somewhere? Do you get the grandfather a gift?
It's not grandfather. It's Big Yorkie.
All right. I'm not wasting any more time with you two. Let's get right to it. Welcome into our show, Craig Button, Director of Scouting at TSN. One of the nicest people I've ever run into, and I still appreciate all the time you have given me over the years, my friend. Hi.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for the very kind words. You know, I have a great appreciation for you. So, Jason, in full disclosure, I'm going to be a grandfather here in about 6 weeks.
Congrats.
And so, going through the same old things about names. So, my daughter's father-in-law, his name is Greg, and I'm Craig. So they've decided. I shouldn't say they've decided, but what they would like to do, he can be called G-Paw, and they're going to call me C-Paw. I don't know how that's going to work, but it sounds better than Grandpa. So we'll just see how it all unfolds. When is the due date for you to be a grandfather?
Sometime in March, sometime around mid March. It's going to happen. You know what I like for you? We could call you G Wagon. What's that? G Wagon.
Big Yorkie and G Wagon. Okay.
Look out for ladies.
We'll try that one on for size.
All right. Listen, we got a lot to get to. Craig, I don't want to waste your time. So you've had a lot of good things to say about the Sens lately. You could probably run for mayor right now in Ottawa with the way things have gone. So you know what? I'm going to get to this quote right now. I was going to save it to later, but damn it, we're going to get to it. So you said, I think this was on Monday, maybe, if I was the Toronto Maple Leafs, I'd be really, really worried about the Ottawa Senators. Do you stand by that comment? Are the Sens better than the Leafs?
I don't know if they're better, but I think they can be as good. And, you know, there's a lot of context there. And, you know, you make a comment, it gets posted. You know, we all run into that and everything. And I'll just dive into it a little bit deeper. You know, last year, you know, the New Jersey Devils really made a push up the standings. I compared the Ottawa Senators to New Jersey last year. If I would have said last year at this time, the New York Rangers should be really, really worried about the New Jersey Devils, it probably would have been scoffed at. Well, the New Jersey Devils, we saw what they did. The New Jersey Devils had more points than the Toronto Maple Leafs last year. The Ottawa Senators had way more points in the season heading into the year that I thought than the New Jersey Devils. I think the work they've done, the additions they've had, you know, you get young players. Jason and Bobby, you've both been part of teams that were successful. You've been part of younger teams. And as good as the talent may be, are you ready to really take it to the next level? I think the Ottawa Senators are. And if you go back to last year, mid-November on, maybe a little bit later, that was a good team in Ottawa. That was a really good team. And we know that they can't afford a slow start this year. No team can. But I look at all the elements that they have in their team, the goaltending tandem that I think will be really good for everybody. The defense is stronger. And the forward group, It's not just a talented group. I think they're a competitive, hard group. And I think they're ready to stand up to the challenges, and I think they're ready to take a real significant step forward. And I think it's realistic. And when I compare them to New Jersey, I see that as something that I think that they can accomplish and be a really good team.
Okay, I will wait till we get further on before I ask the playoff question. That's too easy right now. I'm going to save it.
Craig already said it. He said, I heard him when I saw it live. He said they're a playoff team.
Yep.
Well, you can't ruin my show like this, Yorkie.
But it's old news. I've been saying it. All the smart guys in hockey have been saying it.
All the smart guys.
Even,
Here we go.
Even the dumb ones like me, Jason, like, where I think it's obvious. And all I got to do is go on social media to hear how dumb I am. So if I ever think I'm smart, I just remind myself by clicking into social media.
Yeah, click the mentions and we'll all find out.
Yeah.
Craig, the next thing I want to ask about is on social media. If you look lately on the Xbox machine, as I like to call it, you will see all kinds of postings about Tim Stützle and whether or not can he get more than 90 points? Is he a 90-point player? Is the rest of the NHL world now starting to appreciate Tim Stützle?
They should be. And I use the New Jersey Devils as where I think the Senators can go this year with their young talent. Well, I think Tim Stützle could do exactly the same things as Jack Hughes did last year. Jack Hughes emerged as a superstar, and I think that Tim Stützle is right on the cusp of being a superstar. And he's got an attitude, and I say this in the most positive way. He has this can-do attitude. And, Pierre made the trade for Alex DeBrincat last year, trying to bring him in. But the attitude that I like from Tim is he said, hey, if Alex doesn't want to be here, that's fine. We like the group we have. Move on to someplace you want to be. I think to be a good team, Jason and Bobby, you know this, everybody has to be wired in together. It doesn't mean that at different points in time, you're not looking out to make sure you put yourself in a great position contract-wise or whatnot. But good teams are all bonded together, and the players are bonded together. And I think that Tim Stützle has demonstrated that not just through his play, but also through his commentary. Hey, we got a good group here and we believe in ourselves. And I think they're ready to go out and show that. And, the other thing about Tim Stützle that I think gets a little bit under the radar, he's a chippy player. He's not afraid to, cross that line. He's not one bit. And I like that. I like that a lot about the Ottawa Senators players. I think they have an attitude about him. Claude Giroux, we know what Brady Tkachuk can do. Tim Stützle will do that. You're ready to push it a little bit further over that line. Good teams do it. I just want to be quick on this. We all probably saw last night what happened in the Vegas-LA game. When Mark Stone got hit in that exhibition game by Hayden Hodgson, there was no hesitation from Stone, Brett Howden, Alec Martinez. It didn't matter if it was the second exhibition game. It doesn't matter that Alec Martinez has 3 Stanley Cups. They said not happening on our watch. I think that the Ottawa Senators have that type of attitude, and I'm looking forward to watching them push their way as a team into a status, along with Tim Stützle, as somebody to be reckoned with.
I think that's a very accurate statement, not having been around some of the players, but not this core group. I think this core group is that tight. I just get that sense. You watch them play, they all have that little bit of X factor. And they all stick up for one another. So I watched the hit this morning with Stone and the reaction, and I thought the same thing. So I'm glad you said that. I'm glad we talked about it, because I do agree. I think that this team's that tight. If anybody ran and Brady Tkachuk like that, there'd be 5 guys on the ice going right back at that kid.
No, it would just be Brady.
Well, Brady must be, yeah, but you know what? Stoner did it too. Nobody's going to hit Brady like that because they're not wanting to pay the consequence. No, if you hit Brady like that, you better hope you get 5 in a game.
Craig, I was just listening to you go on, and the word that comes to my mind when I listen to you talk about the Senators, I love this word, swagger. They've got some swagger, don't they? Like Stützle's a young guy, but he's confident, and I find if you want to get to the next level, it's like you're. It's not really cocky. It's just that belief in yourself and that swagger. I think Stützle just oozes swagger.
I agree with you. And I'm going to go back to both your experience and Bobby's experience. You're both at a stage of your career when you're young, where you're trying to find your way in the NHL, and you know you're talented, you know you have the ability, but you're still trying to find your way. And as you find your way, you start to have some success. And now what comes with it is confidence. And as you gain greater confidence, and not only individually, but as a group, you walk more confidently. And then you start to have that swagger. I was at a function on Tuesday night here in Calgary, and Mark Messier was talking along with Lanny McDonald. And Mark talked about, he goes, you know, we were confident. Yeah, we had swagger, but he goes, we believed in ourselves and we believed that we could beat anybody. He said it took us a little bit of time to reach that point, but when we did, we were in a place where we had that belief in one another, which transcended into a team that was very successful. And I think that's where the Senators find themselves. You come into the league as a young player, you know you're talented and you've been drafted high, or you know you're finding your way, you know you're going to be a regular, but you still got to build that base of confidence and belief. And that's why I think the Senators are in a good spot and ready to take those steps. And I know, Brent, you wanted to ask the question later, but I mean, the playoffs to me are something that it's not just a hope anymore. It has to be the reality. And I think they see it as such.
Okay. So today it came out that Andre Vasilevsky just had surgery. He's out 8 to 10 weeks. Does this change Ottawa and the chances for them in the Eastern Conference and specifically the Atlantic Division?
I see them as a playoff team with Vasilevsky healthy and playing. I don't see them much like I saw in New Jersey last year. I thought there was too much there. And so, yeah, we can look at other teams and this Tampa Bay is strong without Vasilevsky as they are with them. No, we know the answer to that. No, you can't lose really good players and still be as good. I don't think the Ottawa Senators have to be concerned with other teams falling back or losing players. I think they're good enough on their own to compete against teams in the Eastern Conference and establish themselves as a team that can be reckoned with. You think back a couple of years ago when the late Eugene Melnyk made the comment about we're going to be a contender. And here we are, 2023. I know people get excited at different points. You think you might be a little bit ahead of it. To me, they're right there. They're right on track now to be where he thought they could be at this point in time. So I don't think they have to rely on other teams not being good enough or other teams losing key players. I think the Senators can do it on their own merits and their own talent.
So, Craig, there's a little bit of a trend going on exhibition right now. We kind of talked about it before we came on the show. Erik Brannstrom last night played 30 minutes. I think Shabbat was close to, what was he, Brent? 30,
Shabbat 30? Was 31.05. Chychrun was 29.47, and Sanderson was 27.01 in the last 3 games.
Yeah. What's your take on guys playing that much minutes this early in the preseason?
Well, clearly it was a must-win game for the Senators. Because is there any other reason to play those guys that many minutes? I mean, you think about preseason, okay? So it's September 27th. It's the early days of preseason. Again, I'm going to go back to your own experiences, you guys. You know, you're trying to find your rhythm into the season. You know, it's early. If it was October 5th, you want to play somebody a little bit more. You know, I would say that. But when you're playing that many minutes. And I make the joke, those are must-win games when you're trying to play your top players those types of minutes. And I think we talk about the balance of the Ottawa Senators and where they find themselves deeper on the blue line, deeper up front. I see it as completely unnecessary in a preseason game at this point. And I think, like, if I was the manager, if I was Pierre Dorion, I'd be going down and saying, what's going on here? Like, this is not a must-win game. This is not something where we have to play these guys these many minutes. And I think that as players are trying to get themselves ready for the regular season, the regular season's a grind, as you know. And to me, it's about getting prepared and not taxing players too early with that many minutes. And to me, that's my own philosophy, my own belief. I'm shocked when you see those minutes for those players at this point in the preseason.
I think
I don't understand. I just don't. I don't even comprehend how they have got 30 minutes tonight. Just
to be clear, though, guys, because being at that end, it's it is the responsibility. The D coach has full anatomy when you're running the D back there. Like obviously there's a game plan, but in exhibition, it's the D coach that rolls the D. So like a lot of people are pointing the finger at DJ. Well, he's not changing the D. It's the D coach. So like that's what people have to realize too. And I don't get it either. I'm with Craig, but yeah, that's a lot of minutes, man. I remember playing 30 minutes and that's hard on the body. Like groins, hip flexors early in the season. Like you got to be careful.
You do. I think we're only what? It's happened to all three of the big guys. And at this point, you're moving into the point where you're cutting guys. Those 4 guys are now going to be sharing the bench, and you're not going to see it. And because we're talking about it and everybody's talking about it, you're not going to see it again. That being said, it's a lot of minutes that are going to be, you're going to have Chychrun, Sanderson, or Chabot on the ice at all times in about a week. So let's get excited about that as opposed to chatting.
Yeah, no, good point.
Because we're a week away from it. They all got it once. They're all healthy, and we're moved past it. But that top 4, man, that's going to be fun to watch when you have those guys on the ice at all times.
Agreed.
Well, again, it gives coaches a sense of security that, things can be handled, right? Bobby, I'm going to talk about you as a really talented big player. You knew when you could take advantage of a lesser defenseman, whether it be from a skill point of view or a physical point of view. And good teams didn't give you as many of those opportunities. And that's how you try to build your group. And I think that's exactly what I see with the Ottawa Senators. You have those top 4, Zub has really developed into a really good, solid player in the top 2 pairs. You got Travis Hammond now who can, manage his minutes down there. It'll be interesting to see, if Tyler Clevin can hold on to a spot. I think his promise is really significant, how quickly he can grab a spot and contribute. But that size, that length, I think it gives him even more of an opportunity. We talked a little bit about Eric Brannstrom, but if I put all those 7 defensemen onto the plate, I'm pretty happy about what they all can do, not only individually, but collectively, and how as a coach you can use them, deploy them, and not feel vulnerable against really any team. I think that's what good teams are built off of.
Okay. I won't get upset, Bobby, if they don't play Thomas Chabot, Jakob Chychrun, Jake Sanderson, and Eric Brannstrom 30 minutes for the rest of the preseason. But I don't know that that's not going to happen.
Deal, because I think there's some decisions to be made on the lower end of that.
Yes.
So you're not going to see it again. They all got and
okay.
I'm with Craig. I'm guessing DJ and the D coach probably got a little bit of a whack from Pierre saying, "What are we doing?"
But that leads me. I got a question. Then I got 2, but I'm going to get to Josh Bailey in a sec. The first one is Shane Pinto, because that may affect who those blue liners are. Craig, what is your assessment on the Shane Pinto situation of how we've gotten this far and not had a resolution?
Well, I mean, can I use an example of Brady Tkachuk? It was a few years back when he missed the early part of camp. I don't get concerned at this point in time. I believe the parties, they're working at it. Obviously, there's some salary cap implications for the Senators that you got to work through. I think Shane is a real key player when we talk about the Senators moving forward and taking those next steps. And in my own belief, and I know as a manager at different points you go through these times, you believe that it will get done and you keep working at it. And everybody wants it to be done yesterday. But I think the fact is that there is a belief, and Pierre and everybody, I think, knows what value Shane brings to the team. You're trying to find that spot. And it's no different than Brady. We've seen it with other players. Anaheim's going through it now with Jamie Drysdale and Trevor Zegras. So it's something that but there doesn't appear to be anything contentious. I would be more concerned if there was this contentious back and forth. I went through a situation when I was first in Calgary with Derek Morris. And, Derek was a really good player for our team, but it got to be contentious. and you knew it was going to be a little bit longer. I don't see it this way. I don't feel that that's the way it's proceeding, and I think that that's positive. What the implications are in terms of the lineup, I guess people speculate, and as everybody does, fans, media, we look at it and go, okay, what could this mean salary cap wise? But those are things that have to be worked at, probably in the same mode. You got to move somebody out to get him under contract. At the same time, you're trying to get him under contract. Who are you considering making changes with? Those aren't easy, and certainly things appear going on in his management group are going through right now. But I do see positivity in the dialogue and how it's being presented.
But the issue is, which is different from Brady, because Brady didn't have the salary cap implications, is you can't. You can sign Pinto, but you have to move somebody before opening night. And so, as you sitting as a GM are going, well, I'm not going to help Pierre Dorion out. He's going to have to pay up in order to make this happen. And that's the concern among fans and whatnot of what's it going to cost collaterally to get this done.
Well, but that is the job of the manager, and you're going to be faced with those
at this point. Should they be here at this point, knowing that this was coming down the road?
Well, I don't know if it should or shouldn't be, but when you're trying to improve your team, and as a manager, you phone another manager and you say, okay, listen, I really want Bobby Ryan on my team, and they go, okay, that's great. Well, we want Jason York. And you go, that's going to deplete my blue line. That makes me weaker on the blue line, but I know I'm getting stronger up front. And that's the balance managers are dealing with every day. Yeah, we're dealing with it now on a salary cap situation and contractually. And that's what Pierre has to deal with. And it's not that he didn't know. It's just he probably wanted it settled a little bit earlier. But there's going to be a cost, like not only financially to signing Pinto, but also how you free up a roster spot in the salary cap space. And to do is minimize that cost to the greatest extent possible. Brent, you're right. The managers, I always joke about managers. You're sitting there in the life raft and it's starting to take on water, and you think they're throwing you a life raft or a life jacket, and what they're throwing you is an anchor. And no manager's ready to help you. And that is the case, and Pierre knows that, but he's going to have to navigate through this. And it's September 28th. I like their chances to minimize the cost, and we're not talking. It'll cost them a good player, no question about it. But Shane Pinto on the lineup, I think, is really important for the Senators, and I think that outcome is the key here. And certainly, the cost. There will be cost to it.
Would you be willing to part with a first-round pick and a player off your roster?
Well, it depends who the player is.
Let's say Matthew Joseph. He's the easy target at the moment.
Yeah, he is. And we all do the math, right? We look at a number that could work for Shane and the number that's there, right? So I mean, personally, I think if a team is getting a Matthew Joseph, and I'll use him specifically, you're getting a good, solid player on a good contract that can do a lot of different things. I don't necessarily feel like a couple of teams might say you got to give me a first round draft pick. I think where Pierre has to get to, and he will get there, is understanding, okay, do teams understand the value of Matthew Joseph? And you can ask for anything you want. It doesn't mean you're going to get it. And I think there's enough reasonable teams out there where he can make a deal where where the cost is not going to be excessive. I do believe that.
Well, last night he looked like a first rounder with his 2 goals, and he was probably the best player on the ice for the Sens. So maybe he's helping his cause here. Okay, Josh Bailey on a PTO, 1,000 games. We all know how good he has played over his career. He was wearing an A last night, and I'm just curious, am I reading too much into this? Is it just because he's a veteran guy, or is this a chance that we're likely to see Josh Bailey signed in Ottawa over the next couple of weeks?
The first thing I would say about it is it's respect for a player that has 1,000 games in the NHL. And I think if you want to bring players in on a PTO and you want to say to them, you have a legitimate chance to make our team, you have to show them the respect. And you're not going to get players to come in if they're just kind of in and out. And Josh has had a solid career. He adds a lot of different things. I think he can add some real positive things to the Ottawa Senators, playing obviously different role and deeper down the lineup. But somebody of his stature, of his experience, you treat them with respect. And would it be, I think, number one, it's a sign that we're going to treat our players that way. And number two, Josh Bailey has earned that respect. And I think that's incredibly important, because you're not just saying that about Josh Bailey. You're also letting every other player out there, the young players, the players that are established, that we're going to respect players of this stature.
Yeah, I think he's getting a spot, Craig. Like, I just think with all the because you know what it is. I always say this: you just need one person in the league to like you, right? That's all you need. And you look at his history with Jack Capuano. You look at his history back in junior with DJ Smith, and he's a pretty useful player. As you said, you can go up and down the lineup. It'd be better if he was a centerman, but he's looked pretty good so far.
Well, Jason, you talked about going up and down the lineup. I think it's really valuable. You got a 23-player roster. There's going to be times when you're even within the course of a game, but injuries. Josh can play left wing. He can play right wing. He can play with good players. Can he sustain playing up in the lineup for long periods of time? Probably not at this period of at this time of his career, but you can put him up there, and he knows how to play with good players, and he can handle the different challenges. You go into a tough game, and okay, Josh, you might ask him to play 15 minutes instead of 11 or 12, and he can handle it because of all that experience. And with a team that is still relatively young, somebody that can, keep in mind, the New York Islanders were in the conference final for 2 consecutive years. He's been deep in the playoffs, and and obviously the familiarity you talked about with Jack and DJ. Like, I think players like that, if they show a capability to still contribute, I think there's real value in Josh and in recognizing it and having him as part of your group. I think there's only positive to having Josh Bailey on your team.
Yeah, I think there's and I just saw Twitter again. I think there's a belief that and I think the fans are expecting more than what the organization is expecting from him. When you bring in a player at that age that has been up and down a lineup in his career, has played at everything, you're looking for a plug and play player. You're also looking for experience. You're looking for a player that can calm things down in the room. A little more help for Giroux, right? With a guy you call him an old salt. He's younger than me, but you got to say that now. He brings a lot of different elements to your team. Like, you look at what Derek Brassard did in his role last year. It's the same thing. So I think people were looking for a big showing out of him and putting points up and offensive flair, and that's not what the organization is bringing him in for. So I think people need to understand that he's a guy that maybe you're 13th forward at nights and maybe you're 6th forward on others. He's just a guy that you can move, and I want people to understand that, because that's the role that he's going to play in this organization.
I agree with you, Bobby. And I think part of that too, people want to say about the individual points, it's what the team's trying to accomplish, like as a whole. And I think he'll contribute to a team getting more wins. And for players that can understand that, like, okay, in those hard times when you have a calming, experienced voice, don't worry, guys, it's okay. We'll get through this. That becomes really, really important. And, he helps other players get points. So so much of the time we want to take it down. Oh, he's only got, but what else has he contributed? What else has he contributed to help, other players be better and ultimately the team being better? And you just made that point. And I concur with you that Josh adds value. Don't measure it in his individual stats. Measure it in all the other things that he can do in a game.
Right. Very true. Very true.
What's your assessment on Ottawa's goaltending duo? Some would argue, we'll argue, because I'll take the positive side. I think it might be the second best tandem in the Atlantic behind Boston.
I like your use of the word tandem, Brent, because, when you start goaltending now, I mean, Vasilevsky's having eight surgery on his back. You have to believe that the wear and tear of playing so much, contributed somewhat to that. I don't know how anybody could conclude otherwise. So what you're trying to do now in the NHL is just try to have a tandem, really capable goaltending that eases the pressures. A lot of times, one goalie, if he's your backup, is going to have to play on the back-to-back in challenging games. You don't want to have to put your goaltenders into spots where they're asked to do more than they may be physically capable, even mentally capable at that point in time. And I'm talking about the fatigue. Fatigue isn't just physical, it's the wear and tear of going through it. And Anton Forsberg has shown that he can be a really good goaltender. I think he'll benefit from Korpisalo's presence. I think Korpisalo will benefit from Forsberg. It also gives Sogard a really good chance to play a lot of games in Belleville. And he looks promising. To me, I've watched him since he was in Medicine Hat, young goaltender. His progression has been really significant. So I think the goaltending tandem extends through the organization. I think that is Korpisalo a clear-cut 55-game a season goaltender? Is Forsberg? I don't think either one of them are. But if they're 45, 35, or even if it's I think that's good for the Ottawa Senators. And I think that you want consistency and stability in the net. The Vegas Golden Knights showed that last year. All three of their goaltenders, Adin Hill, Laurent Brossoit, and Logan Thompson, they had injuries at different points. They all played well. Now, the defense was better in front of them, and that goes back to the team. We talked about the 7 D-men. I include Clevin in that right now. He may start in Belleville, but the depth of the defense also helps the goaltending. So it's an extension all the way through. And again, that's why I'm so bullish on the Ottawa Senators. I don't think it's just about, they're young, they're ready. I think they're built right. And I think they're built nicely to have success in the different positions and ultimately overall with the group.
Vladimir Tarasenko. How's he going to do? Is he a big question mark for you?
No. I think, but I'm going to go back to what Bobby said about Josh Bailey. You just have to look at be realistic about what Vladimir can do. Vladimir is a really good goal scorer. Is he going to score 50? No. But start thinking about where he plays in the lineup, how you give depth. For DJ and the coaching staff, they can get him some good matchups, and he can take advantage of matchups. He's got that offensive flair. He's a really smart offensive player with an excellent shot. But if Vladimir Tarasenko comes in and gets 30 goals, I think it's really good. You have Drake Batherson. You have players that Stützle. We talk about Tkachuk, Giroux. They have more than enough offense. You don't need Vladimir to come in and give you this 50-goal season. Just come in and give us really good, strong play like you've done. He's obviously won. He's got winning experience. He's been good in the playoffs. To me, that's a nice addition. It's a one-year contract. I think that's really nice for Vladimir Tarasenko and the Ottawa Senators. We know where the money is in the system or where it isn't. Next year, it's going to open up with the cap going up, which is really good. But for this year, I think it's a really nice addition for the Ottawa Senators for a lot of different reasons. The other thing about Vladimir, he's not going to be intimidated. And by that, what I mean is the challenges of being a good team and the challenges of helping a group be really good, he's up for that. And he's demonstrated that. And I think that becomes really important as well.
So then do the Sens, I don't want to keep you much longer. I know you're a busy man. Do the Sens have any weaknesses that you see in their lineup, or what is the biggest one?
What I would say is, and this comes back, not just to the players. Mike Johnson and I have talked about this, not just to the players, but also to the coaching staff. It's one thing to improve your goaltending. It's one thing to be deep on the blue line, but I think they have to really be focused in on just being better, just a little bit more detail on the defensive side of things. How you're going to play in your own zone, and I think that. I think DJ and the coaching staff can get that instilled? Yeah, I do. I don't have any question about it, but emphasize it. Emphasize the importance of it and where it's going to pay off down the road. Because now as you move into this next, what I would call this next period of time for the Senators, you're trying to round out a lot of the different areas of your team. We know they can score. We know they're deeper. Well, now this is just the one area. And I wouldn't necessarily call it a weakness, but I would say is a point of emphasis, and a point of emphasis for the coaching staff and the players. Reinforce it, commit to it, and I think I don't have any reason to believe they can't have success, but it's going to take an emphasis and a commitment, all the time. Like that, and there's nights it's not going to work, and you just have to recognize. But that commitment, I think that'll make them really good. I go back to New Jersey. That's what Lindy was able to do in New Jersey, and the players, embraced it. He emphasized it. They had lots of success, and I think the same thing can happen in Ottawa.
Yep, that started well for Lindy. Eh? The first 2 games into the season, they were chanting "Fire Lindy."
Yeah,
by the
that?
end, they apologized. Yeah,
Incredible.
That's one of the great ones.
Yeah.
So okay,
you gotta love it though, because the fans did recognize. I mean, I was watching that game when they said we're sorry. It was, and Lindy was quite open about it. He goes, "Yeah, well, it kind of neat." Like, Lindy could say, "I didn't hear it. He heard it. He knew about it."
Yeah.
And I think that it's a nice recognition that hey, we were wrong, and look at what Lindy's done for our team.
Craig, I really think New Jersey is going to miss Andrew Burnett a lot, though. He brought a lot of value to that coaching staff. Obviously, look at he's now the head coach of the Nashville Predators, but that's a big loss.
It is, and teams lose players, they lose coaches and valuable members of the team, and I include coaches in that. So now what's incumbent is it's incumbent upon Lindy. Lindy's got tons of experience in the league. He knows lots of people. Who are we bringing in? What are we going to emphasize? What's your strength? Again, we talk about strengths. So Andrew has some really unique strengths, and I agree with you, Jason. I think the world of Andrew. Obviously, Barry Trotz does too. And I look at it. So what Lindy now, you're not going to replace Andrew per se, but okay, what do we want in our coaching staff? What do we need for that person or persons to come in to really help us continue on the path that we were on? And if you're trying to get Andrew Burnett, you're not going to do that. So, and I think Lindy's experience affords him the opportunity to get it settled and understanding where it's at. And we'll see how it unfolds. But I think for Lindy and his experience, that's really beneficial when you lose somebody such as Andrew Burnett.
Is there a follow-up to that, Yorkie?
No, that's it. That's all I got.
All right. Before we let you,
listen, it just came to mind. I'm going to Nashville tomorrow, Craig. I got a big party in Nashville, 50th birthday. So that's why I thought of it.
You better hope the weather changes, pal.
Hey, are we meeting up, by the way, Bob? We going for a coffee Saturday?
Can we discuss this later?
Yeah, let's do
that. Listen, I know Craig loves going to Nashville.
I do, Jason. I was just there for the draft and everything. It's going to be a little cool. Hopefully it's not raining when you're there and you can enjoy the time. I mean, both of you know, I'm amazed. When Nashville came in the league in 1998, Bobby, you came in a little bit later. But look, like even when you came in the league, Bobby, there wasn't much in downtown Nashville. I mean, there was the Embassy Suites and the Hilton, and to go there now and to see how the downtown core is just picked up. It's lively. They got so much going on. It's a fantastic city. I was talking to Hal Gill at the draft, and he just said, like, they love hockey. They've embraced it. And we talk about expansion in the league. Bobby, you played in Anaheim. I was with Minnesota when we moved down to Dallas. You start to think about, people say, oh, expansion is up. It's worked.
Oh, it's worked.
It's worked.
It's worked. And not only that, it's the players' favorite now too. Nash Vegas.
Yeah.
It went from a room service city to a rookie party city in 5 years.
Taxes aren't bad either, Bob? Hey, Bob, you don't mind the taxes there either.
No, not at all.
Okay, two last questions. I always say the last question ends up being 5, so let's go with 2. And I'll take a question from Corey Hill, who's in the chat, and says, who is going to be top defenseman for the Ottawa Senators this season?
I mean, you're giving me a pretty good
question.
Selection group here. I mean, we know it's 3 players. I think Thomas Chabot will benefit by having less ice time. We know how good Jake Sanderson is going to be. I think Jakob Chychrun, being in Ottawa, he's talked about changing his training. Jakob has always been dedicated to training. He's talked about changing his training to get through the challenges and the rigors of a regular season. So if I had to expect one player to really, establish himself, and that's nothing against Thomas or Jake because they're terrific players, I'd be watching for Jakob to really show his capabilities. I don't think there's any question he can score 20 goals. He's shown that. He's a presence on the blue line. And I think a healthy Jakob Chychrun can really be a significant player and really kind of be at that level where, there's excitement. Not that there is an excitement for Jakob, but excitement. They're like, wow, are we ever lucky to have him?
Yeah. He looked pretty good in Toronto the other night with 2 goals, including the overtime winner. That's for sure. Last question. Our good friends at Patano have the Sens over under at 90.5 points this season. Would you take the over or the under?
I'm taking the over big time. The New Jersey Devils had 69 points 2 years ago. They went to 112. The Ottawa Senators had 86 last year. 4.5 more points, not a chance. I think they'll have over 100.
Wow, I like it.
So
we'll be giving you the key to the city next week, Craig. Just stop by the city hall. You can pick that up on your way out. Thank you.
I think it's great. I know Michael Andlauer. I've known Michael Andlauer for a long time. He's been part of the NHL. He's had success in the American League at the OHL level. He's always had the dream and the goal of owning an NHL team. I know how excited he is. I know how honored he is to be part of the Ottawa Senators. And I just see a partnership and call it a marriage between Andlauer and the Senators in the city of Ottawa. So happy to see Cyril Leader back. I mean, this is a phenomenal person. So when I look at everything that's unfolding here for not just the Senators, not just their fans, but the city of Ottawa, I'm excited. I'm excited for everything that I'm seeing happening there, and I know Ottawa Senators fans are excited too. And it's exciting times, and I don't think the Senators are going to disappoint. I really don't.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Fantastic.
Love it.
If you'd like to come coach, we'd like to have your enthusiasm on the bench. They need one more coach. There's only 4 on the bench right now.
I'll tell you a funny story, and we all have to know our roles. So I was in Dallas and I was managing our farm team in Kalamazoo. And so Bob Gainey said to me, he goes, now listen, he goes, you're here to support the coaching staff. You're here to make sure you're not going to sit up in the press box and coach. He goes, if you want to coach, he goes, I'll be happy to put you behind the bench. He goes, but keep in mind, I don't like your chances to be a successful coach. I've kept that in mind over the years.
Fair enough. You could be a mental skills coach as far as I'm concerned. So there you go.
There you go.
Craig, we appreciate your time. It's always good to see you. I hope we can get you back on during the season. It's fun to chat with you, my friend.
Hey, Brent, anytime. You know what? You introduced me. I feel strongly about our relationship. You're good people. Jason and Bobby, you guys are doing great work. I know how much you care about the Ottawa Senators. So you want me back on, just ask. The answer will be yes.
All right.
Thank
see you tomorrow.
Very much.
There goes Craig Button.
Quick there.
What a beauty. Yeah. He's like, oh, what did I just say?
Yeah. Never mind, Brent. Gotta go.
Hey, how about that was quick, over 100 points without hesitation.
He didn't even hesitate.
No hesitation.
He's all in, and I love that.
Listen, if they had 86, we're not talking a big jump here.
No.
No.
You think about the amount of close games they lost, and then
think
about the amount of close games, and then on top of that, think about the Mann games that they lost. It's not
okay. But here's the thing: if they don't have Shane Pinto, and if Josh Norris is not 100%, I think this may be a little bit of a slow start here. And we know they don't need a slow start.
There's no slow start coming. I don't think it's coming. And to Bobby's point, they put up 86 points playing their 6th goalie in the system with Chychrun out, with Chabot out, with Norris out. Everybody was hurt, and they still got the 86 points. I don't think over 100 points is far-fetched. I don't think it's a reach. I really don't.
But once they were out, they started to play hard.
Yeah, but they were winning games and in games with a pretty well an American League lineup with a few Stützle was playing well over 20 minutes a night. It was crazy.
But would you not play Tim Stützle 20 minutes a night? I think he finished with 21 minutes a night.
Yeah, you can't do that over 82 games. So it's going to be different. But I just think it's health, goal. It's the number one thing is goaltending. Goaltending is so much better to start the year off. And you show me a good team, I'll show you a good goal. You're a good tandem. That's number one reason why you win in this league. Goaltending.
And in saying that, if you're DJ Smith, you're sitting down with your top 6 guys offensively and saying, okay, we have a little more to go around this year, right? What's your sweet spot? The numbers and minutes that you want to play. What gets you to the state where you're not feeling like you're missing parts of the game? And then he explains, obviously we're going to have power plays and we're going to have special teams. How can I get you to that number? And that number that the player said is always a little bit higher than the coach probably thinks, right? When they always used to ask me, I'd say 18. 18 is the number. And you come in around 16 and you know that. I always went in higher because I'm like, well, you want to be on the ice and whatever. But you have, I'm guessing that they've had that dialogue of how to spread the wealth around to get those guys all to the comfortable numbers. And they also probably told Timmy, we can't do that to you for 82 games. There will be nights that you're going to play 21, but there's nights that you're going to play 14 if you're not at your best, and we have second and third line that's rolling, whatever it might be. So it's going to be a give or take. And I think as long as they have dialogue around it, they'll be fine.
I believe under the DJ system that Tim Stützle is going to play 30 minutes a night.
No, just stop it.
Tell me I'm wrong.
Get out of here. Are we done?
No, I got some more questions today. Josh Norris at practice, by the way, who's cleared for contact, won't play Friday in Winnipeg, but says he's close to, according to Ian Mendes, close to suiting up for a preseason game. Quote, hopefully within the next week or so. I think we have 5 left. The plan is for sure to get into at least 1 or 2 games. Bobby, is this a concern?
No, and I'm not saying, I'm saying that having no real knowledge of the situation outside of what we know, that it was a tweak. He tweaked something. You have a player that missed a year, right? Let's not force him into anything. Let's make sure that the tweak is taken care of. Let's make sure that he feels comfortable putting a jersey on that says more than no contact. Let's feel that he's getting, you have to go out and you have to have some incidental contact in practice to know that you can do it in a game, or else you're going to get thrown to the wolves and he goes into a corner and somebody tweaks again. And now you're looking at this. So I think they did everything right. And they handled it right by the player that you gave 64 million sheets to, and get a game in and let's hit the ground running, but let's not worry about preseason for a guy that's missed a year.
Okay. Fair.
I'm mildly concerned, because I thought he would have been boots on the ground, running and ready to go from day one. So am I really concerned? Not really, because I do agree with Bob. You want to bring it in slowly. I was just hoping the non-contact jersey wouldn't have been on. It would have been start camp perfect, but tweaked it. Not the end of the world. I've had shoulder surgery before, and it does take a while. Like it's just you just got to get confident, and you got to, like, there is no sense in rushing. I'd like to see him get in more than 1 game though. I'd like to see him get 2 or 3 at least. But once he's back, like from all accounts I'm hearing, he's in great shape. He's ready to go. Little tweak. I'm just mildly concerned, because I was hoping there wouldn't have been a tweak.
Okay,
my guess though is that he's like a bird dog pulling at the chain, and they're saying he is, and they're saying no. We know you're 98%. We need you at 104. Yeah. Before we expose you. That's all. That's all I think it is.
Now, there is a chance the game is in Winnipeg, that he's making a very veteran decision here.
I love it.
So you know what, Coach? I don't think I'm quite ready with the Winnipeg travel.
I tried from the day 1 of training camp every year. What is it? I told Bob Jones, I think it was Bob. I said $100,000. Give me $100K to get me out of this game. We used to do that drill, the one drill, and I lined out. I think it was Davis Payne, and it was one of the worst drills ever. You know the drills, Yorkie, that when they're flow drills to start the game or practice, you pass it across, you skate across, you get it back, you go shoot. And we did this one monotonously for 6 months, and I finally got up to the front of the line and I said, I'll give you 50 grand if I never do this drill again in my life. And so I think it was Painter that was like, hold on, let me go talk to somebody and get this sorted out.
I'll take 50.
Blow the drill down right now. My concern is with Norris, because you guys are both players. You understand, as a media person, I get it too, that perhaps we're not being told the entire truth. Let's not pretend that you guys have never come out and go, you know what? It's just I'm day to day. I'm fine. It's just a tweak.
No, I never did that.
Sometimes it's a little worse than it should be.
There's always a possibility. There's always that.
I don't think there's anything more to it right now.
All right.
I really don't. I think it's just that, and just being precautious.
Okay.
And hey, why are we picking on Winnipeg all the time? It's not that bad this time.
No. It's the travel.
It's the trip.
It's the flying there day of and flying back day of.
Hey.
That is a long haul.
Yorkie, I took a picture one year when I got home from that road trip. I took a picture I got in bed at 5:40 in the morning.
Oh, on the way home?
Yeah, and they're like, "Hey, you can have the day off," and I'm like, "Thanks." Yeah, I'll get up and I'll take the dog for a walk, and I'll go back to bed and see you. What a day off!
I did a game there, I don't know, a couple of years ago in February, and we walked to the rink, and I think we were outside for maybe a total of 5 minutes. The guy I was doing the game with, Hannah Ryan Singh there, he has the big beard. His beard had like icicles in it. That's how cold it was. And that was like being outside for a total of 5 minutes. Like, it was nasty.
Yeah, no, this is not the city. This is just purely that day of travel.
Yeah, I'll get you.
All right. So just quickly before we go, speaking of our good friends at Patano, I'd just like to get our ad reads in before we get fired. It always seems to be appropriate. This show is always proudly presented by our good friends at Patano. Go to Patano, download the state-of-the-art app, get in on all the action, same game parlays. Again, Andrei Vasilevsky, right now, the odds-on favorite to win the Vezina. I would probably go and pick someone else if I were a betting man. All that and more at Patano, plus the Sens 90.5 points on the season. Take the over, according to Craig Button. But all that and more at Patano, where the game starts now. Don't forget Saturdays, 9 p.m. trivia nights, football trivia. And as always, BEI, Bonachure Excavating Inc., heavy civil general contractors. They will take care of all your aggregate needs. Call them 613-432-1120. Also, equipment rentals, custom crushing and screening, all kinds of the good stuff when you are in the Ottawa Valley. They help to shape the Ottawa Valley. BEI. Go to bei.com. All right. The other thing is Brady Tkachuk, if you haven't heard, took a stick just above the eye. It was a deep cut, apparently requiring stitches. He's going to miss a couple of days of practice. He's not going to Winnipeg or playing Winnipeg, but should be fine for the rest of the preseason, especially when they begin that road trip out to the East Coast, which everybody always looks forward to. That's for sure. And I should point out, tomorrow's game, by the way, is in Ottawa versus Winnipeg. It's next week, October the 5th, that they're in Winnipeg. Yeah. No, that's on me. So anyway, there are a couple of banged up boys, but that's like, this is a team. What have you seen, I should say, from the 3 preseason games? And I know they're preseason games. Have you seen individuals that have stood out to you? Like, I really like the play of Dominik Kubalik for someone that we don't really know, if you will. I thought he was really good. I think he's been really good in the 2 games. And I think Matthew Joseph was, as I said, I think the best player on the ice last night, which is probably not what everybody needs to see right now, because they all like, he's got to go. Wait a sec. He's pretty good. We maybe want to keep him. Is there anybody that's really stood out to you guys?
For me, Sokolov was good. I actually like Cleven's game. I think once he settles in and the game slows down just a little bit for him, I think he's going to be a very serviceable defenseman. I'll let Yorkie speak on D-man. And I like Schmeichel's game.
Oh, yeah. Schmeichel,
I liked his,
apparently.
Schmeichel?
Yeah, Schmeichel.
Okay. I liked his game too. I liked his game too.
Is it good enough, though? Is it good enough to knock Parker Kelly or someone else out of the lineup? Like, I don't know that his skating is good enough, but I'm not an NHL coach by any stretch.
Probably not yet, but we still have 5 games. Let's get a bigger window. Because you're playing on adrenaline for game 1, especially for him. Parker Kelly's not playing on adrenaline, but he works his ass off anyway. Yeah. I'd like to see him get 2 to 3, maybe even into that 4th game, Yorkie, where you're making decisions on a few guys. When you look at that trip, there's going to be some guys going back to back, in that 3rd line, 4th line role, while things kind of carve themselves out. So a little early for me to make that statement that it's good enough to push somebody out, but he did himself favors in the game, and so did 2 or 3 other guys.
Totally agree. But I've liked Wally. You kind of stole my thunder there. I've been really impressed with Kubalik, and when they first made that trade, I'm like, this is a guy that's going to come in really motivated on a 1-year deal, and he's going to be in a top 6 spot. And I think he can. I think he scored 20 on a very bad Red Wings team. Now you put him with some better players. And okay, so Tarasenko signing, I agree with what Craig said earlier. He's been a really good player, but there's a part of me that says, man, I would have liked to have seen Kubalik getting a little more of what we're talking about for Tarasenko, because then you'd have that money for Pinto right now. and then you'd still have another $2.5 million to bring in another really good depth player. I know it's woulda, coulda, shoulda, but I scratch my head on that one, and I wonder, why didn't you just do that? Like, then you wouldn't be in this pinch. Then you wouldn't be in this situation. And no disrespect to Tarasenko, because he does that a lot, but I would have loved to have seen Kubalik with that opportunity. He's still going to get one, but he's not going to get the looks Tarasenko is going to get, at least to start the year off. But man, that just would have solved so much headache, and we wouldn't be in this pinch with Pinto right now. So yeah, I loved Kubalik, and the other thing, I think Jakob Chychrun's really good too. The goals aside, just looks confident and looks ready for a guy that is totally ecstatic to be playing in his hometown. I
really like the 2 of them together. Look really good, like him and Shabbat, where they can both play each side, right? They're like, well, you just take that guy or do it.
And like Jake Sanderson too, he's built off what he's done. Like, he looked great in that game. So with Kubalik, I just scratched my head on that one. I'm like, would have liked to have seen it, but here we are. I'm sure they'll figure something out with Pinto eventually.
So I don't know how much you guys have been able to see games, but JBD, Jacob Bernard Docker, I'm concerned. I'm concerned about his game.
Why?
I know he's young, and I know he's got to develop, because we were expecting him to come in like Jake Sanderson, and maybe not that high, but certainly it was a high. He was rated very high when he came here. I don't see him progressing quick enough. That's my only point. And Yorkie, I'm going to say this because I've said it all along. A defenseman in the NHL takes longer to develop. So I'm just not sure that he is. I think he's going to get past. That's my problem. That's my concern, I should say.
Yeah, I'm just trying to scroll to his ice time right here for last night. Here's the thing with players, and especially
20 minutes, 2 seconds. He was 1 assist. He had 2 missed shots and 1 block.
Well, that's it. If he would have played 12 minutes, I would have said, well, it's tough to get into rhythm when you're only playing 12 minutes. But 20 minutes is a really nice number to play as a defenseman. You're into the flow of the game. I just think the league slows down for you as a player once you've been around you've went around. Like, what Jake Sanderson did last year is not normal, especially for,
and that's the problem.
That's the problem. And Jakob Bernard Docker is not at the same skill level as a Sanderson. Sanderson's he's an elite skater, an elite thinker, and that's why he was drafted so high. Jakob Bernard Docker, at least in my opinion, is going to be, if he has a career, he's going to be probably a 5-6, maybe a chance to break in after maybe 4 or 5 years into a top 4, but he's coming into a much different situation. Yeah. There is 0 chance he's going to be a top 4 defenseman. So he knows coming into camp, he's battling for that 6-7 spot, and there's pressure. Like there's a lot of pressure to get in there and get that job. So I'm sure he's feeling that. So he just has to calm down and he has to remember what he needs to do to be successful as a player. And that's for me, and watching him, it's just keeping it simple. You get it on your stick, it's right up to the forwards. It's blocking shots. It's having a good stick. It's closing gaps. You don't want to see flash from him. You just want to see steady Eddie, because that's what he's going to be in his career. And I think he will be. It just takes a while. People need to pump the brakes because like I'll look at my own. I played 3.5 years in the minors. I eventually became a top 4. But right now, the game is so fast for guys like that. It's going on 1,000,000 miles an hour. And it'll eventually slow down, but it just takes reps. It just takes time. And the Senators know that too. Their development guys are great. Like Sean Donovan, Jesse Winchester, Wade Redden's in town. They're probably telling them the same thing. Just relax, play your game, and good things will happen.
The only way you know a good defenseman a young defensive defenseman played well is if you're not talking about him.
Right? Exactly.
That's it. We don't want to hear, you don't even want to bring his name up because it's usually going to be a negative. If he's doing his job, we're not talking about him. Then you go, you know what? He played 20 minutes. He got on the board, and where his exit pass is clean, did he take away time and space, and did he create, or did he clean up some mistakes? Boom. That's it. That's all you want.
Yeah.
Also,
I like him. I like him, Wally. I
do
think
too.
there's I think there's something there. I think he's got leadership. I think he's going to be he's going to be a good defensive defenseman. Just if it doesn't happen now, you don't have to be worried about it. I do think he'll start the year with Ottawa, but hey, slow and steady wins the race.
You mean Belleville?
No, he's on a one-way.
I think he's starting here. I think Clevin will be the guy, because I think Clevin needs pro reps, and money talks too. They'll be right up against the cap, so we'll see.
Yeah.
By the way, Tarasenko looks like he is going to take Brady's spot in the game tomorrow, alongside Stützle and Giroux. So that'll be interesting to see that.
Right about now, he's going, Brady, you rat, you dog, you.
Based on the roster and today's lines, that's what it looks like. Before
he's
we go,
cursing in Russian.
I got to point out, we had on our social media a chance to win 4 tickets to the Ottawa 67's home opener, which is tomorrow night, giving away 4 tickets. And I just want to say the winner of that is, I'm going to have to pronounce this properly in my French, Mathieu Langto. We will get, I'll reach out to you shortly with contact info so we can get you those tickets. So
Matthew
Langto. Langto.
Okay.
Yeah, see. So anyway, congrats to him. We'll take care of that. So enjoy the game.
Before we go to Wally, I got a shout out. A long time listener to the show. Helped him out with his. He's at St. FX University. Helped him out with his sports management course. We did a little Zoom call the other day. Derry McGinnis listens to the show all the time from Antigonish, Nova Scotia. Doesn't miss the show. Say, Derry, keep listening, bud.
Love all the Maritimers in our show, just because it's near and dear to my heart. So, have you ever, by the way, either one of you, I'm going to assume Bobby, no, ever had dulse? Dulse. It's basically dried seaweed, salted.
No.
Okay, I'm going to see if I can get you some to try. That's a very maritime thing to have.
I'll give it a go.
I prefer lobster. Like that's a maritime,
no,
that's a maritime thing.
No, I don't have any.
I thought you were going to ask if I got screeched, and I was like, yeah, 10 times one night. Yeah, they had to tell me to go home.
There's no more screech left, Bobby. You gotta go.
We ran out of fishes.
Bob. When I was in the minors, Toronto's farm team was in Newfoundland, and we played a best of 7. Oh my God, did we have fun on that road trip?
I bet.
So good.
I couldn't imagine.
Like that maritime circuit in the AHL was fantastic. Fredericton, St. John, Moncton, Halifax.
Oh, and you stayed over after every game too. It was dynamite.
Yeah. The coaches didn't want to get home either, eh?
No, they loved it.
All right, boys. We'll see you on Monday. Don't forget, starting next week, we're up to 3 shows a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and then at some point we may get to 4. Have a great weekend, everybody. Yorkie, safe travels. Bobby, don't forget you got to take care of Yorkie.
I might pop up there. I might have to pop up there.
All right, I'll send you a note.
Sounds good.
See you guys. Thanks, everybody.
Coming in Hot is brought to you by Botano.ca. Please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel to never miss an episode.